What's up guys, Matt here coming at you with another quick video. Today we're going to be talking about the new Redcat Ascent. When I seen this announced, I seen the pictures of it, I got excited because this thing looked like it was just laid out perfect. I loved the chassis design, the skid, the sliders, the body, lots of really good stuff going on with this one. It's really like buying an RTR G-Speed or something. I mean, it really is. And we'll take a look at one of my G-Speeds here and just kind of talk about some of the things that it has in common, in my opinion. I did get this thing out for its first run, so it's already been ran, as you can see, and it did not disappoint at all.
Oh, yes! Oh, now how to get off? I don't know. I'm gonna go up here and try to jump over. Yeah! Yeah!
So everybody that was out with me just couldn't believe how good this was as an RTR. Now, my plan was to take it out and run it on the stock wheels and tires all day. I couldn't do it. Like, okay, it's really good. The truck is laid out so well that it was doing really good with these, but I just, in my head, I thought, nobody's gonna run these, okay? These are really good tires. I think they could be really good. They seemed pretty good, but the truck just needed some weight. These are not a beadlock, they are glued, so that's a major bummer because I would really like to try these out. Maybe I'll try to release the glue on them and mount them up on some beadlocks, but that's a lot of time. And honestly, I figured like nobody's gonna keep those wheels and tires. We all have our tires that we love, and then, you know, everybody wants to change wheels. You want like some aluminum wheels that look a little better. These are absolutely trashed. These are really old, and you can tell here in a minute. We'll take a closer look at this truck on the bench. You'll see how wore out these tires are, but man, they are perfect right now. So first off, let's just kind of talk about this thing. It does come with some underdrive gears in here, which is awesome because I haven't even installed these yet, and it's really good. And that's one of the first things I do with pretty much any truck when I get it, if it's available, is put some overdrive in the front or underdrive in the rear, whatever. It's kind of the same thing. But this comes with like a 10 and a 20% underdrive for the rear. So by throwing that in there, it's really gonna help this truck to kind of dig in with the front end, and it's just gonna make it even better. But you'll see in the running clips later, this thing, just like it sits, I did change these wheels and tires, like I said. But other than that, this is 100% stock. And I made a little change inside we'll talk about. Got plenty more changes coming. And this thing was so impressive. I mean, it was unbelievable how good this was. So when I seen the body on this, I was pretty excited about it. Like, I actually kind of like this body. I like the pinched body design. You can run this without the bed, so maybe that's something I'll do down the road. As you can see here with this G-Speed, I run kind of a hard body on it. Sometimes a Lexan Power Wagon body, but I always just run a no bed back here, just kind of plain. So maybe that's something we'll do with this at some point. I really liked having the full body. It's just something different for now. So right now I'm gonna leave this. If I ever get tired of it, I can take it off. I got a different look immediately without doing really anything. A couple things with this. Right away, I've just noticed the skid and these sliders, how well rounded they were and how smooth everything on the bottom of this thing is. And that's very important on any crawler. You can see a pretty similar kind of layout there as far as the skid being flat, no ridges, no grooves, nothing to catch on, slick sliders. You know, one thing that drives me nuts with this is I run the hard body on here. These sliders are just like 3D printed and I break them all the time. And then that's like 30 bucks from G-Speed, and it gets old. I really liked the way this skid and these sliders were laid out. I even like how the body goes on. I mean, it works pretty well. There was a couple times where it did come loose, but there's like a clip on the front here that slides into the front bumper, and then you got pins that go in the back. And there's some little things here that kind of catch on the back side of the body. So it works pretty well. Sometimes it's a little finicky, but overall it works really well. We do got a manual. No, actually, okay, so that's one thing. We don't get a manual. I looked and looked out of the box. I was like, did I lose it when I was taking this thing out? You basically get this quick start guide, which nobody really needs. And the manual's online if you want to see the exploded view and all that sort of stuff. We got some extra stickers, some numbers. Oh, okay. I think these are these are red stickers for the wheels. I don't know. I'm definitely not putting those on. But let's take this to the bench so we can get a closer look at what's going on inside of this thing, why I think it's so good right away. We'll talk about some of the plans I have for it, and then I got quite a bit of running with it, and we'll just talk about while it's running as well. All right, so one of the things I wanted to show you guys is just the weight distribution on this thing out of the box, minus the wheels and tires, because we're all gonna run different setups as far as that goes. If you like maybe the weights in the hubs, you can go that route to add a little extra weight, whatever you want. But where does the truck sit just as it is here? We're 62 front, 38 rear, 51-49, almost pretty much 50-50, probably just depending on how the suspension's sitting. But this thing is laid out just absolutely perfect. Your battery, you can run a full-size pack back here, I guess is what they kind of planned for some people to do there. And at that point, you're basically at the 60-40 if you're running something like this. This is what I was running in it. I did just move this strap from here to the side. That's another thing where they were thinking ahead. You know, these sliders are slit for your battery strap to go through if you choose to do that. I am probably going to at least swap this out for a shorter strap. It's too long for these batteries, and it kept coming out on me. But I plan to put some Velcro here and just kind of stick this thing straight on and not really worry about strapping over it. It is a little bit tight there, but at that point, I'm still sitting pretty well off. You know, it's going to throw my left, right a little bit off. But if you mount it on this side, opposite of the receiver, your motor's on that side, so you're kind of evening it up a little bit. So that's where this thing, they thought ahead of it on it so much, in my opinion, and gave us such a good truck out of the box. It's unbelievable. So a couple things real quick before we get to the running. This does have the option to mount up a winch up front here. So if you move this ESC, you would have to move your ESC either down here or, like I'm going to do, go to the all-in-one. It has, just like my G-Speed, a spot for a servo to mount up here. There's like a cover there I think you pull off, and you can mount a winch up front. They give us a few shock mounting options. I think we'll be okay in the rear. The front, I wish we had a few more back in here. I sometimes lay those back just a little bit more, but not bad. The shocks, they need some work out of the box, in my opinion. They're a little stiff. I noticed a lot of times when it should flex, it just kind of dumps out. So if you don't know, these do have a spring inside of them, sort of limiting the travel. So there's a spring in between here on the inside. If we take that out, we're going to get more travel. Like this will pull down farther. So they're very limited. We got very, very limited flex, like hardly any at all, to be honest. It needs just a little bit more. Now, I don't go flex crazy with most of my trucks, but it needs a little bit more, and we'll talk about that in the running. That's for sure. I'm going to remove this tray altogether because I'm not going to use it. I'm going to put a Fusion in it. I'm going to put those underdrive gears in here, which looks like it takes about 5 minutes maybe. A couple screws here, one of the drive shafts, I think. Throw these gears in, which it comes with. These are all plastic gears, but this thing has a slipper on it, which worked very well. I put this in some terrible binds, and it would just kind of start to slip, and I knew, hey, you better back off. You're going to break something. So I kind of like the plastic gears. It's very quiet, and I think it'll be fine with the slipper. We may have to, change slipper pads quite often the way I drive, but that all seemed to work really well. Now, this is just beautiful. This is where this thing shines. Nice, clean bottom. The links are all very clean. You've got smooth edges here. I wish these were high clearance. The fronts sort of are. They were like turned out like this when I got it. Not really high clearance, and I kind of rolled them. Now, if you roll this one very far, you're going to get into the drive shaft, so you kind of got to watch but right there I am clearing the drive shaft and there's sort of high clearance. So I'm gonna make some high clearance work for this. We do got some hang up points here on these axles. I think I'm gonna take this and roll it, flip it over 180 degrees, and that should get this part that's sticking way down up top and this smoother edge down low. And then we will redo this link. I'm gonna do a high clearance link. I mean, it all works really well. I really like it. And for an RTR, it was unbelievable as far as performance goes. So let's take a look at this thing running. We'll talk a little bit more about it while it's running. One other key thing, this servo, very strong for an RTR. Probably one of the better RTR servos I've ran, 35 kg. You can get 45 out of it, I believe, if you swap to a different ESC and can get a higher BEC out of it. It does have an aluminum servo horn. That's one thing I was concerned about. A lot of times, even if they come with a decent servo, you end up breaking the horn because you're, using that power and you snap the horn. But it is aluminum as well. These axles, I really like the portals and they're narrow. So I run Capra axles on like my G-Shot build, and that thing's amazing. But it's crazy wide, where some places I would like it to be a little more narrow. So I like that these are sort of narrow. Depending where we're running, I could run some little wider hex, get me a little bit more width. But most of the time I can stay nice and narrow, sort of like some of my straight axle rigs. So overall, just an absolutely brilliant, magnificent truck from Redcat. Just needs some work on these shocks, without a doubt. One thing I'm not a fan of is just how these shocks mount in here. So it looks like we have to take a screw out from, I guess, from in here. So we're gonna have to take this knuckle off and get to this screw in here, because this is like a double shear mount. So, it'll be a little stronger, I guess, but that's a pain if you want to get to that to mess with this front shock. But I mean, that's a small complaint, right? Besides that, the rear's easy to get to. These, like I said, these link mounts down here are just sort of hang up points. You can see it don't look like they hung a lot because I didn't really scratch them a ton. And I never really noticed that they were hanging up, but I just think that looks like it could be a little cleaner. So we'll change that up. But let's check this thing out running and we'll talk a little bit about it. So this first spot we started at here is a little tougher. It gets harder as you go. This part here at the beginning was really just kind of tough because of the root. It's not a nasty crawl or anything, but the root kind of throws you off. A little bit of an overhang there. All of the trucks, really besides the G-Shot, which has crazy mag clearance, just kind of walks over that. I had to work a little bit to get over that root. You can see this truck, no problem. The fact that this thing will start to go up anything like this ledge right here in completely stock form is pretty insane to me, because most things you get to that point, they're just tipping. Right there, stuff's just going to dump out backwards. But this is balanced out so well before you even try to add any weight or anything. Like, you don't have to start going crazy right out of the gate, throwing brass at the front end to get the front to stay down. Like, it's already balanced well enough that it stays there. We need more travel out of the shocks, but look at that. That's unbelievable. That's a very good climb for a completely stock truck. Like I said, normally they just loop out. Now here you'll see the flex is very limited. It definitely needs a little more flex. That right rear should not be that high right there. He's really not even, Mike's driving at this point so I could get a little video. He's really not even hardly starting up that yet, and he's about to lose the rear end there. So that's where a little more travel out of those shocks would definitely help. I did pull these shocks apart. They have the limiting springs in the rear as well, and that's something normally I just run in the front usually on my rigs. You can see we had a stray coming up on us, but kind of got to watch your back. But yeah, so those shocks have the limiting spring in the front and rear. I'm going to pull that out of the rear and just run it in the front. I think I'm going to try to leave it in the front. It's a little stiff. Like, all of the spring rates are really stiff. I noticed when I started pulling these shocks apart. I ordered some Losi mini T springs to put on the shock itself on the outside. I think those will work really well, and I was out of the soft ones. So I got a new set. I wanted a soft and a medium to run on the outers, kind of like I do the Traxxas big bores. A lot of people build those with the mini T-springs, and these are really set up exactly the same. So that's another spot where Redcat has kind of been watching what people were doing, and they sort of based this truck off of the mods people make. And I think they gave us a really, really good base truck to start with, and maybe we just need to tweak it a bit for sure. So here you can see he's trying to go up the tougher line. It looks like it would be easier, but just because of the way the rocks are spaced, you can't get all the way onto that one before you're hitting the next one. It's got like a step up there, so it's very hard to do. And the fact that this truck wasn't doing that right there the entire time shows that it's balanced pretty well. You'll see Dakota's truck right here. It's a very decked out 10.2 build, and it's very capable. And even it, struggles with this spot. The Capra that Mike's driving back there in the background, same thing. It's built well. It does pretty much anything, we pointed at. But it struggled with this as well. And so, I mean, it's a tough spot. It doesn't look like it would be, but it is. And this truck couldn't get it done completely stock. Once I changed the wheels and tires, I did get past this ledge, kind of where he's at here, got up to the next level, and it was just a matter of getting the right bounce or right pull, and I would have nailed that line. Didn't quite get it while we were out there, but I just left these in here. I wanted you guys to see that, other trucks struggle with this. The fact that this is completely RTR and it even had a chance at all is pretty amazing. One thing this was lacking was pop. Like, the wheel speed is just not really there. It doesn't have that punch. There's my G speed. You can see you kind of rely on that punch to get over that, because this set's really low as well and doesn't have crazy clearance. So it struggles with that spot unless you can get that punch and hop up there like I did there. And of course, I lost it and had to start over. And this truck struggled with that spot as well. So that's why I just wanted to kind of show a couple other trucks hitting this, so you could realize this looks easy, but it's really not. Now, this is a spot where you need this mad clearance of like the G shot right here. This thing, it makes some crazy stuff look simple. I mean, there's a couple lines on this same rock, and I'm going to have a full running video of our day at Rochester coming soon, and you'll see a few lines in there that this thing pulled that was just insane. There's a line to the right of this on that nasty rock that was pretty wicked that it pulled. But you can see I still have to kind of work my way to get started there, and then it just walks over that. But I wanted to show you guys those clips because this truck is really performing above and beyond even trying some of that stuff. This climb here is pretty simple if you got a halfway decent laid out rig. For a long time they called this around the area KLR rock because it's the only tires that went up it were KLRs supposedly, but I've been up it with like everything I own at this point, and it's kind of not really even a challenge anymore. But these tires are the Proline Krawler TA, the BF Goodrich tires, and I love these tires. They're really good all around. Like, I can go to the creek and they're really good. I can go to a spot like this and they're really good. These are broke in like perfect. I love when they're so chewed up they're just about to rip apart. And the sidewall on one of these I noticed is tearing on me, so I'm going to try to put a little glue on it and make them last a little longer, but I'm going to have to start breaking in a new set of these very soon.
Every time I've tried to back up and do that, it falls in anyways. See? Yeah. No matter what you do.
So I couldn't get that to hook and let me just go right and come right up on top of that rock. None of us could. So I backed up, went forward, backed up over and over, and finally got this thing to flip around and got it to where I wanted to be and was able to get, look at that, just pure luck. And then I was able to come up on this rock. But another really good positive about this truck is the bumpers. Like the front and rear, the approach angle, departure angle is really good because those bumpers they're the bare minimum. You know, they're enough to do what they need to do, kind of protect the body in the front, even hold the body, but they're out of the way. You know, sometimes I'd run straight into stuff, but for the most part of the day, like, they were just perfect, and it seemed to hold the body well. Like I said, once I think it came loose, but I don't think I actually even had it clipped good. So I really like the bumper and body layout. A couple of times I noticed the side of the body right there on the bottom would catch a little bit, and maybe something I'm able to trim kind of towards the rear tire there. So I may look at that, but I don't want to make it look all goofy. It looks pretty good and it works. So right here you'll notice what I'm kind of talking about with the travel and the shocks. If you started at anything at an angle like this, where you could usually kind of drop a tire off of something and get a little bit of travel out of your shocks and not do loop out like that, normally that shouldn't happen. You should be able to drop that front tire off just a little bit and kind of get started down that without just rolling the truck off of it. So the shocks definitely need work out of the box. And then if you could hear this thing, it has like a fax machine attached to the ESC. You know, it's one of those that's just like constantly. So that's one negative to it. The servo's a little bit loud, but it works really well overall. I noticed quite a few times I'd be standing on my nose and the servo would still work, which is a really good thing for an RTR truck. You could easily throw like a Hobbywing 1080 ESC in here and get better performance, in my opinion. I'm just going with the Fusion SE. The thing's like $79, and it's an all-in-one system. It's waterproof, and it's so crazy smooth. It's just super simple and insanely smooth. So I'll definitely try to show you guys that when I get it installed and some of the mods I'm making to this truck. Another thing the Fusion will help with is just the throttle control. The reverse especially is pretty jumpy on this truck. The forward is not terrible. When you're going downhill, it's worse. So like easing down lines is not real easy. You know, it can be done, but it definitely needs some work. And the reverse, like you probably noticed a few times, we would just kind of go to back up and we completely back off of an obstacle, because reverse is just very touchy, and there's no like dual rate or anything on the transmitter to adjust that. So unless you just swap your transmitter and adjust your throttle curve or something like that, there's really no way to adjust that. But the Fusion is definitely going to help with that. It is probably the smoothest thing I've ran on 10 scale. Here you can see that is full throttle, not a ton of wheel speed. It's probably plenty wheel speed. The problem is it's just not real peppy. So right there you can see that's all it has. So when you try to launch up some lines at times, and this is on a 3S, it is 2 and 3S capable out of the box, but running even the 3S, there was a few spots where I was trying to launch up onto something or bounce up onto something, and it just really didn't like it. Coming up here shortly, there's a rock where I'm trying to bump and get the rear tires up on the rock, and it just almost didn't have enough wheel speed. I finally got it done, but it took me quite a bit longer than I feel like it would if I had a little bit more punch.
I just drove straight into it. Your rear so far too big over.
This right here is another spot where the bumpers really worked out well. Now, I didn't make this the first time I got up on this rock. I was out of whack, but I finally figured out how to get my tire on there, and I had the clearance on that front bumper to get it done. And then this thing has some pretty good clearance on the belly, and was able to hop up on that with ease. So I really like the bumper setup on these things. And I got to looking, and the front bumper can actually be moved back one notch. So I'm probably going to do that just to give me a couple more millimeter of clearance on the front. So the fact that we can have a bumper there that kind of
helps protect the body, but it really never was an issue as far as hanging up on anything. Again, here, check out this. I just got lucky right here. That had a little bit to do with the flex it diving off of that, but that's a big hole, a big drop, and I just kind of gunned it, used Mike's capra to give me a little cushion, and was able to save this thing right here. So I thought that was pretty cool. I'll just throw it in there kind of in slow motion so you could see it. But overall, I absolutely love this truck. I have already started the modding process, so when I get some of the mods done, I'll definitely be doing another video showing those. It's not going to take much. I'm trying to keep like the stock shocks and as much of the stock truck as I can, just to kind of show what this thing can do in stock form by just moving things around a little bit and doing a few simple mods. I am going to put the Fusion in it just because I feel like that's the best money you can spend for pretty much any RTR. Like I said, for 79 bucks, it completely changes the truck and your control is just out of this world. So here's a few more lines. You can tell that the clearance back there in that hole, a lot of trucks really don't like that hole, and this was able to get through it. This next rock coming up here, you can see the capper on it right now. It's very tough to get the right bounce at the bottom and catch a little bit of traction. This almost didn't have enough wheel speed here, but I was able to finally get it done, and this is very impressive. I've seen a lot of people not make that climb right there.
Yeah. Yes. Thing's a freaking beast, dude. I cannot believe.
So one thing I haven't talked about on this truck is just the transmitter that comes with it. It's just a standard 2.4 gigahertz transmitter, but it's got a really good feel, and I like the angle that they put on the wheel, and it's very one-hand drivable. I drove all day. All of this driving was with one hand because I forgot my mount for my camera that I normally clip on different transmitters, so I wasn't able to use both hands. So I was just driving one hand while filming, and I mean, I did an okay job, I guess, but the transmitter felt great in hand, you know, and that was one of the things with the reverse. Sometimes you're a little more sensitive with trying to do things with one hand, and so when I would hit that reverse, sometimes I would just like really jump. But the transmitter itself feels really good in hand, and I drove all day one-handed and wasn't uncomfortable at all. It has a nice little storage compartment in the bottom of the transmitter, which is great for storing like a bind plug or a small wheel wrench or something like that. You know, we've got to the point where some days we've been out and somebody had an issue and needed a bind plug, and I actually carry one in my wallet now because it's happened so many times and nobody would have a bind plug. So it's nice to have that little compartment where you could just throw something as simple as a bind plug or a wheel wrench in there, and you don't have to pack it in your pocket or in your wallet. You got it right there in the controller, so that's a very nice touch as well. And I think all of the little things that add up on this truck for the $299 price tag is just absolutely amazing. Oh, are there a few things I'm going to change? Yes, I'm going to do away with the stock motor and ESC, but that's something I definitely wouldn't have to do. If you wanted to pick this truck up as a first crawler, I mean, this is probably one of the best first crawlers you could get, in my opinion. If you want to go out with a buddy that's been in the hobby for a long time, maybe has some decked out built rigs, and you can get this, get some wheels and tires, maybe something like these wheels have the hub weights in them, and I'll link everything in the description in case you're wondering what it is, but that's an easy way to add weight. I did go ahead and order some brass bits for this thing, so I'll include that in the next upgrade video. You know, but it's not really needed. Like, you don't have to do it. It's just a couple things I think that's really going to push this truck over the edge. I'm going to rework the shocks for sure, but besides that, everything else they did with this thing is just amazing. I mean, it is laid out perfect. The servo is really good. Like, I mean, a lot of people in our area run like the Amazon Special 35 kg servo. This is just as good or better than those, and so for most people, like, that's all you're going to need, you know. I usually put something a little stronger in there, so I've got plans for that as well. But this servo will definitely be going in something else that's like a total budget setup. But this is easily one of the best RTRs I've drove, and I know, you know, I keep saying that and repeating it, but it just really is that good. And I was pretty hard on it. I put it in some tough binds. It has the slipper, which is also very noob friendly, I guess you would say. If somebody's getting into 10th scale, if it gets in too bad of a spot, you'll just kind of hear it go, you know, and it winds a little bit, and you know to back off. You know, that slipper's slipping. So that's nice. I didn't break anything, didn't have issues with anything coming loose, nothing first run out. So very excited to go run this one again. I'm going to leave you guys with the rest of the running, and I think I talked to the guys a little bit about what they think about this truck, but overall we had a great day out with it. Look forward to more running coming with this one soon. Peace.
My bad, I had to mess with you. All kind of flex. Ain't no way I'm gonna flex around it. I cheated at the tree. No, I'm about to screw it. Man, my front end just wants to slide back. Narrow enough. Wow. That's some real good stuff.
So what do you think about this new Redcat?
Pretty good for Redcat and being stock, other than tires.
One of the best trades to run out of the box that I have seen.
By far.
Honestly. For the price, can't beat it. Cannot.
Yeah. Made the hop from that rock. Took a big one. Into a bad idea.
Let's see.
That's a hairpin turn right there. Get through that. You'll be alright. That's pretty neat, isn't it?
That is.
Oh no, man. One of my favorite tires is ripping out on the side. I just seen it. Might have to get a new set, start breaking them in. You might be able to just drive off that. I was trying to see if I could just make the turn. Not like that. Oh, battery almost came out. Very close. Man, I definitely could go down that. Turn sideways, I keep going in the hole. Oh, yes! Oh, now how to get off? I don't know. I'm gonna go up here and try to jump over. Yeah! Yeah! This is wide enough. So close.